Before the myth, before the vampire, there was a man whose cruelty shaped centuries of fear. Vlad Tepes, known to history as Vlad the Impaler, a prince, a warrior, a man of unimaginable brutality. But to his people, he was justice. Born in 1431 in the fortress of Saisoara, Transylvania, the same year his father joined a secret order called the Order of the Dragon Dracula. It was here that the name Dracula was born, son of the dragon. Vlad was no ordinary child. He grew up surrounded by war, a boy prince trapped between empires. When he was only 13, the Ottomans took him hostage. He watched executions, torture, and blood, and learned what fear could do to men. Years later, he returned home to a country in chaos, his father murdered, his brother buried alive, and his throne stolen. Vlad swore vengeance, not through mercy, but through terror. When he finally seized power, he ruled with a single law: obey or die. Thieves were impaled, traitors were skinned alive, and yet, crime vanished. For the first time in years, his people felt safe. The streets ran red with blood, but the markets were open, the borders defended, and justice swift and final. To Vlad, cruelty wasn't evil. It was order. When the Ottoman Empire demanded his loyalty, he gave them fear instead. He refused tribute, and when their armies marched in, he turned Wallachia into hell. Itself, he burned his own villages, poisoned wells, and impaled tens of thousands. A forest of corpses greeted the invaders, a message carved in blood. Here reigns Vlad Tepes. When the Sultan's scouts arrived, they found an entire valley filled with 20,000 impaled soldiers. The smell of death so strong, the invaders turned back in horror. Vlad had done the impossible. He defeated an empire with fear alone. But fear cuts both ways. His enemies called him a monster. Whispers spread through Europe of a man who drank blood, who feasted beneath corpses, who was not human. The myths grew. The church condemned him, and the world forgot the man behind the terror. But centuries later, his legend returned, not as a ruler, but as a monster of the night. The name Vlad Tepes faded, but Dracula would live forever. The year is 1476. Vlad the Impaler, thought dead, erased from history, returns. But the world he once ruled through terror no longer remembers his name. Only his legend. Romania whispers of the Prince of Blood and peacetime. His enemies are not just men. Their stories, their myths, their fear itself. Vlad rises from exile, scarred but unbroken. His homeland, Wallachia, lies in chaos. Ottoman armies closing in, nobles betraying one another for power. To his people, he's a ghost. To his enemies, a curse that refuses to die. He rallies the few who still believe. The peasants, the outcasts, the forgotten. They whisper his name at night. Tepes, not as a monster, but as the savior who ruled through fear to protect them from foreign chains. His return spreads like fire. Villagers claim to see him ride through mist, pale, armored, eyes burning like coals. They say he doesn't sleep. They say he doesn't age. And so, the myth of Dracula begins to merge with the man himself. Vlad attacks without mercy. Entire Ottoman outposts vanish overnight. The forests, once filled with corpses, now hide his army. Silent, invisible, deadly. Fear becomes his greatest weapon once again, but legends have a price. Even his allies begin to wonder if he's still human. Rumors spread of his thirst for blood, of soldiers impaled not for betrayal, but for pleasure. History blurs, man and monster intertwine. The church brands him cursed. The Ottomans call him the son of the devil, and poets call him immortal, the name Dracula. The dragon becomes Dracula. The Son of the Dragon, a title that outlives every man he ever impaled. In one final act of defiance, Vlad leads a last desperate charge against the Ottoman army. Outnumbered 100 to 1, they say he fought like a demon that night. No armor, no fear, only rage. When the battle ended, Vlad was gone. Some say his head was sent to the Sultan. Others say he was never found at all. And in the centuries that followed, peasants swore they still saw him riding under a blood-red moon. His castle fell. His body vanished, but the myth grew stronger. From Transylvania to London, from whispers to novels, from terror to immortality. The man became the legend, and the legend became Dracula. Today, his name feeds a billion-dollar industry, movies, books, nightmares. But behind the fangs and fantasy lies a ruler who used fear as justice and cruelty as survival. Vlad Tepes, the prince who became eternal, not because he lived forever, but because fear never dies.